I'm Clayton Rhodes. I'm here at George Fox studying biomedical engineering. And right now I live in Vancouver, Washington.
Yeah, my name is Dawson Willems. I'm a mechanical engineering major at George Fox, and I'm from Hillsboro, Oregon.
Clayton, how did you get into InventOR?
Yeah, so that was something the faculty there at Fox kind of introduced us to during one of our classes, Servant Engineering. And it was in the later part of it that they introduced that to us and kind of got the ball rolling on that end.
Who is your faculty mentor over at George Fox?
Todd Curtis. He's a super good guy and was a lot of help through the whole process.
How did he support you in your journey to InventOR?
A lot of it was expertise. He's been in, I don't know if industry is the right word, but he's been teaching students and seeing these sort of problems pop up a lot. And he was able to give us a lot of advice and was a good foundation to kind of bounce ideas off of and keep us on track.
That's great. Dawson, totally okay if you don't have a specific story to tell, but is there any experience you had with him that stands out to you as helping you get oriented with InventOR?
I would say, just in general, Todd was always super encouraging in making sure we're able to actually finish designs and be able to deliver final products to our clients. That was a huge goal of his, and that was really helpful in making attainable goals and fulfilling those. So just the constant encouragement and feedback and help in that process.
That's great to hear. So Clayton, tell me about your idea. What is your idea?
It's a little bit of an interesting one as it's kind of formed differently from just like a single product. With working with Todd and the whole team there at Fox, we're wanting to make a sort of hub of sorts to provide task-specific prosthetic devices to those that need them. In our market research, we found that although a lot of prosthetics are, fit for specific people, there's not a lot of money to be made in specifically making it for a task that someone would need help with. So there's not a lot out there. So we, as a team, we were able to find clients to kind of create a process. So the invention that we're looking at is that process in itself.
Yeah, it does. Before I follow up, I'll give Dawson an opportunity to add to that if he wants.
Yeah. So as Clayton mentioned, this previous semester, our team work, we actually had a group of 6 people under our advisor, and it was a continued proof of concept of sorts. Our professor has done this for a couple of years now, but we actually found 2 separate clients this year to build task-specific prosthetic-esque devices for. And so in that, we believe that there are so many other people that we can help and that engineers as a whole can help, and just building that bridge and connecting those people and giving engineers opportunities to get experience in working with people and using their skills they're learning in school, and providing people that have needs with a means to make their life better or easier and just help them in any way possible.
Great. That's great. I'll move back to you. Can you elaborate on some of the challenges that your invention addresses and why that's important?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge in the sense of the connectedness of the engineers and the clients is there's just not a lot out there for people that have, for one example, one of our clients, Brandon, has cerebral palsy, and he's got some splints and such that you'd normally find on the market, but he doesn't have anything that addresses any of the specific tasks that he couldn't do. Like we tackle, typing on a computer, getting him to utilize his hand more. So it's that kind of new approach that provides a lot of help, and we would say would be an innovation in that space.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that even the process that you've created is a way for prosthetic designers to get to better know the needs of the people that they're trying to serve.
Yeah, Yeah, that's a big part. And like Dawson said, we have about 6 different devices between, so 4 for one client, 2 for the other, to kind of prove and have in his example, um, to prove that concept that we're working on.
Yeah, if I might add, the other main goal of this is just connecting people in general. Even with 6 members, we found it extremely difficult to find clients to work with. Even though we know they're out there, and in talking to, as Clayton mentioned, Brandon or Jade, there are so many people that could use help but don't know where to look, and so many engineers that would want to help but also can't find those people that need their help. So just making a place, a forum of sorts, to connect with people and provide sort of instruction and guidance in that process.
Can you, if you can, would you elaborate on what those 6 devices you mentioned do, and how much of a role they play in what you're bringing to InventOR again?
Yeah, so starting with Brandon, we created a glove-like exoskeleton that would help open up his hand. With cerebral palsy, he has a lack of muscle control, and in his case, he could only close his hand. So we made a glove that used sorts of rubber bands and a skeletal 3D printed stitch to a glove that would allow his hand to naturally open. So he could close it, and then the device would help him open his hand. The second device that we made for Brandon was a sort of like a hard sleeve to go over his finger and provide support, because as he typed on the computer, his hand wouldn't have the rigidity to function correctly. So one of our team members headed up that design. For Jade, we made 2 devices that would help her eat. She has Bruch syndrome, so similar, not a lot of muscle movement, bone structure. Wouldn't be what would normally be found in a human. So we made 2 devices that could help her eat. One was a spoon holder that would allow her to, with her mouth, put the spoon on the device with the food in it, and then spin it around to eat off of it. The other one is a conveyor belt. Tabletop conveyor belt is what we call it, that you can put food on, and it basically brings the food to her mouth and shuts on and off based on where the food is on the conveyor belt. Another one for Jade was a toothbrush holder device that would hold an electric toothbrush and allow her to more easily brush her teeth, and allow her caretakers to have a little bit extra time in the morning, because previously she had to have a caretaker help her with that action during the morning. And the last device is a custom mouse to help her use a computer. Her hand, it's, I wouldn't say inverted, but it's twisted about 180 degrees. So a normal mouse for a computer just doesn't fit the way her hand was formed. So one of our team members headed up that project and made a custom fitting mouse to allow her to use the computer and the internet and such. And as for what that brings to InventOR, we feel like there's a lot of innovation, and especially that process, getting that out to people. And it wouldn't even necessarily be for prosthetic devices. It's that, client-centric design process that we kind of, with Todd's help, kind of help to realize. And we feel like that's a super strong thing. That's not, especially in business, a lot of times it's okay, get stuff out there, get it so people will buy it. But especially focusing on the client and their needs is something that we found was super important.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm interested in. Obviously, the prosthetics themselves are important because they increase the functionality of the people that get them. But I'm also wondering if there is a trend in the prosthetics industry toward individualized prosthetics and developing prosthetics that are specific for one client, as opposed to developing prosthetics that might be useful for a broad swath of people. Is that true?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's definitely going that route. It kind of hits a wall when businesses are trying to be profitable and such. Because if you make something for one person, you can't as easily sell it or fit it to another person. Especially the sizing's going to be completely different, and the task, it maybe only be 1 or 2 people that have the specific task that they need help with. So there's definitely still some challenges that come with it, but I do think people are starting to try to at least tackle those, or find answers to kind of make it a little easier to get over that hump.
Yeah, I'd say that that trend is sort of appearing and has been more prominent in recent years. But as Clayton mentioned, it's challenging for any companies to make a profit on that. And so we feel that a more personalized fit, communication between client and engineer in this case, just makes more sense and would be more beneficial to both the engineer and the client in a whole.
I'm going to pivot a little bit. I know that we interviewed a prosthetics team from George Fox last year, and I'm wondering, firstly, is there a strong legacy of prosthetic studies, for lack of a better word, at George Fox, and did that inspire you on your journey to Invent Oregon?
Yeah, so there's definitely they just recently created a biomedical program there at Fox here in the past few years or so. So there's a lot of good faculty there, and there's a lot of good physical, what do they call it? Physical fitness, physical training doctors there that are kind of at Fox's disposal. So I think there's a lot of interest and there's a lot of drive for that, and I'm expecting in the future that there's going to be a lot more study, as you put it, into that prosthetic area coming from Fox.
So thinking about Invent Oregon moving forward, what are the biggest challenges or obstacles you foresee encountering with your idea?
Biggest obstacles would probably one be timeline. When dealing with people, and especially when talking with clients, over the past semester, that was the biggest time eater, was connecting with people. And that's part of the innovation we want to make. We want to kind of limit that time. It takes, okay, you got to send a message. Okay, wait for one back, send another one. So that'll be a big one. A second one is just it and the clients in a whole. There's not necessarily it wouldn't be like a math equation. There's not a precise equation you can follow. You've got to kind of be a little bit liquid about it and be able to ebb and flow. So those are probably going to be the two most difficult things that we can think of at this point.
What is it that you hope to get out of your experience at Invent Oregon? And I'd like to hear from both of you. Clayton, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so it's definitely, at least from what we've read about it and looked at it, I think there's a lot of like interconnection. Anytime there's a lot of minds coming together, a lot of good things can happen. Many hands make light work, and we'll probably be able to see a bunch of good ideas. And there seems to be a lot of good mentors. Just reading through the schedule, there's a lot of things that even like we as engineers at Fox, we haven't really taken any business classes. At least I haven't. But I know that's a fairly large part of the InventOR process, which we're excited to learn. So all of the new knowledge, and especially the interconnection between other people that have the mindset of wanting to do more and such, I think is, at least for me, is one of the biggest things that I'm hoping to get out of it.
Yeah, and I agree with Clayton, and I would say that the biggest part is learning how to make a small scale idea that started with just a couple of engineers and a few clients working together, and taking that and building something that can have a greater impact on more people in the future, and just learning the process, how to go about that. And as Clayton mentioned, the business aspects, and just in general, the process of taking, like I said, a small idea on a big scale.
One more thing. What is the most important thing you want judges or the audience or other competitors to understand about your idea? And how will that set you apart?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that sets us apart is how much we really want to get the client involved in the design process. A lot of times business, I mean, they're selling to people, but they've kind of forgot that there's a person on the other end. That's the biggest thing. We want to solve issues with the client involved. We don't just want to find a trend or find some statistics and solve that. We want the client to be involved and us to have a direct connection between them, because we just feel like that solves so many better problems than just simply making something that might turn a few dollars or fix a few numbers on a computer screen.
While we don't have a traditional business model, in the sense that we're specifically doing this in search of profit, we are more focused on the charitable efforts of this on both ends, in helping engineers connect and helping the people they connect with have a better life.
And yeah, I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for taking the time tonight.